Hello, everybody, and welcome to IP Global's latest podcast, the 10-Minute Market. I'm joined today by Henry Crinage, who is our head of UK sales. How are you, Henry?
Well, hi. I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Very well. Henry and I were talking last week, actually, and it prompted the sort of subject for this latest podcast about some of the things that we see advertised online in what is a fairly sort of unregulated property investment market that we operate in. And Henry, it was assisted living. It was lots of sort of promotions of various assisted living investment schemes that kind of came up. And I know you've got your views and I've got mine about that market. So we were going to cover today a little bit on that and just some of the other things that we see out there in the marketplace that we think you should be very wary of when looking to invest in property. So, Henry, this assisted living sector, it's kind of come out of nowhere, really. I haven't really, been in the industry over 10 years and haven't really seen much of it until the last sort of couple of years, really.
I'd agree with that. Yeah, it's certainly been promoted in the last 2 or 3 years more aggressively than it has been done previously, and I think that's probably it might be something we cover a little bit later on, but it certainly feels like it's maybe filled the void of what was the student property market historically, which was advertised as very high yields, very attractive yields for those who in the most part were wanting to put their cash solely into an investment and not necessarily use leveraging or the likes of a mortgage. So yeah, I would agree with that. I think the last 2 or 3 years it's certainly reared its head, and it seems to be a highly popular option for those investing at the moment due to those yields. So yeah, it's an interesting one. There's certainly no doubt about that. I mean, we see it a lot. A lot of people talk about it. A lot of people ask us our views on it, and there's a lot to discuss about it. I think there will, like all these things, there will be some very good operators and maybe some who aren't quite as honest or transparent as they should be. But it's a different market, it's a different investment, and there's certainly no doubt about that. I don't know what your thoughts are as well, but it's certainly something I think that people should go in with caution.
Yeah, and I think, look, some people might not know what it is, but I mean, this is the sort of thing that we see is a building in typically probably a fairly undesirable location, not somewhere you're probably expecting growth. And it might be a building of 20 or 30 flats, and you can still buy an apartment, you still buy title, and you're tied into a lease with perhaps a housing association or some sort of a assisted living product that's guaranteeing you an income. And it's typically a very long lease, could be 20, 25 years. Yeah. There's a sort of positioned guarantee of, double digit net returns. And, that's what you're looking at, basically. That's what this sort of investment is. And I sort of sit there and go, hang on a minute, is it too good to be true? And the first thing I think about is liquidity. You're buying into a building that you own the asset, you own the title, but you have no control actually over your investment and what it could become. And what's that building going to be like in 5 years, 10 years? There's a lot of
an exit strategy. Will, I think that's the other thing that is often overlooked, and it's very easy to get blinded by the lights when you see those eye-watering guaranteed yields put on the table, and a lot of people often think, well, that if I don't have an exit, that's fine because I've already essentially got my investment for free after 10 years or whatever that may look like. But actually, say year 2 or 3, and often these are, guaranteed by a newly created SPV, which, dare I say, is funded by the purchase of that, and initially at least, often. And once you get to year 3 or 4, say the income's not there, say there is no guarantee there, then actually what exit strategy have you got? And we certainly saw that with the student property market. Again, buildings were sort of quickly put up in quite obscure locations, often, and incredibly sometimes even in towns or cities that didn't have universities or even ones that needed student property. And there was some cities certainly need it a great deal, and some less so. But how do you exit? And that's the reality of it. You get to year 3 or 4, and maybe year 1 and 2 have been great, but year 3 or 4, if the money's not there and there's no exit strategy, and we found that with student property, it puts you in a very difficult position. I mean, it really does, and that's, I suppose, why whereas say bricks and mortar, and especially sort of standard residential buy-to-let properties, they are what they are. There's always going to be that exit strategy for you. Ultimately, everything comes down to price, of course, but Savills have forecasted their growth, which is very positive for the residential market. And what that means is that if you are buying a buy-to-let property or a property for yourself to live in, at least you do have that exit, wherever that may be, whatever that may look like. That option's always going to be there for you.
Yeah, exactly. And I always think that what if that's such a if there's a housing association there ready to take a 25-year lease, why is the building being sold off in individual units? That's what I see potential sort of profiteering coming in, and we've seen it before. We've seen it with the student pods. I mean, the student sector is a great sector in the right city, in the right location. It's a brilliant market to get into, but is it in a 25-30 square meter pod that you cannot get a mortgage on, that you effectively very much limit your exit on? And again, there have been concerns about how long these guarantees, or how solid these rental guarantee sort of deals are in that sector. So we like student accommodation, but we'll do it in a sort of fund structure the right way. We wouldn't look at it in a sort of student pod scenario. And we've seen this with retirement pods. That was kind of popping up, and then it's kind of developed into this latest spin, this latest, in my mind, sort of potential to trying to profiteer is this sort of assisted living. And actually,
and hotel units as well.
Yeah,
hotel units. Yeah.
I mean, again, hotel apartments are often sort of structured around a profit share and a vacancy and thing, and you really do. I mean, there is literally no exit on that stuff. I actually think there's no exit in an assisted living building all the time. It's tied into that lease, and it's that liquidity that's the key. And you want to maximize your exits when you're investing. So I was saying it started with kind of like champagne plots back in the day. People used to, there were stories of people sort of popping along to these exhibitions. The bubble, the cork pops, the bubble keeps pouring, and the next thing you bought a 100 square foot plot, or probably more like a 300 or 400 square foot plot in a field that's been mapped out perfectly for a development, but it's actually simply a field that was probably worth 10 or 12 grand, and all of a sudden each plot's probably been sold for that. I've actually had a number of people sort of come my way that have inherited things like that, because there aren't many around, and the legal costs to sell it are probably more than what it's probably worth.
Outweigh the value.
Which is it's sort of nice to communicate that, but most people kind of know already. But yeah, look, we love property. We think in the right way, it's a really good investment. It's about owning the title. It's about having that flexibility to sell it when you want. It's about controlling who your tenant is and where the income's coming from. And it's about getting a mortgage and leveraging that asset to allow you to actually make your money work harder for you. And even though we're in an environment where interest rates are a little bit higher, we still think that sticking to that basic recipe will keep you in good stead. And you can buy good deals at the moment. The market is active. People are buying.
Absolutely.
And hopefully we can give you some ideas about what we're doing, and share with you some of the risks and concerns and views that we have on what's out there in the marketplace at the moment. So yeah, Henry, I think we'd probably wrap up there. We hope you found it useful. Please share, subscribe, and we'll see you again next time.
Thanks for having me.